back. So we're going to go into our next segment, which is our business spotlight. So we've got Chris Melotti from Melotti Media, who's an absolute guru when it comes to everything branding. We've changed the format a little bit. So it's going to be a shorter presentation, about 5 minutes with slides, but then we want to have an open discussion and Q&A. So if you've got any questions around branding, this is your chance to ask Chris. So with that, Chris, I'll hand over to you.
Beautiful. Hi, guys. Alrighty, so I'm just looking at a couple of screens here. I'll move you over here. Okay, so I know I've got 10 minutes, so let's be nice and quick. I'm going to give you lots of energy, lots of ideas, and then heckle, ask questions, do what you need. Alrighty, so today, differentiating your brand with a core messaging strategy. Let's talk about what that means. So my name is Chris. I'm a marketing consultant. I've checked. I've been in marketing now for 22 years. I have really good skin cream. So yes, 22 years. I've done a lot in that time, achieved a lot, but more importantly, what are we going to talk about today is the reality, what every business is facing. Three things. One, the market is crowded. Okay, extremely crowded in any space. Number two, your customers are changing. And number three is your industry is rapidly evolving. Do not be in denial about these three things, okay? And that is where a strong brand comes together, because it's the end for boring, bogus, and bashful brands. So what I mean by that is, if you have a vanilla brand that sounds like everyone else, or has been AI generated, or is just some sort of guesswork, you're going to be forgotten, okay? If it is bogus, which I mean is not authentic, okay? If this isn't genuinely you, then you're going to get overlooked. And if you are bashful, and what I mean by that is too conservative and not putting yourself out there, then you will be ignored. So it's really important today that we use our brands to stand out, and we stand out proudly, okay? So what this involves is this, two things, right? It's about articulating your distinctive and relevant message. So take notes if you need to, right? So distinctive means that you are clear, powerful, and consistent. Brands today are getting forgotten because they don't reiterate themselves. Like we talked about, everyone gave their one-liner, or some people said, I don't know it, okay? It's really important today. Your customers do not see you as much as you see you. They do not understand you as much as you understand you. You must remember that when you're putting your brand out there and you're putting it together, it's almost like you have to be bored of your own brand, because you are seeing your customers and your brand every day. Your customers are not. So is your brand clear, powerful, and consistent? And the question I ask my clients is, are you proud of what your brand is saying to the people who matter most? If you can't say a clear yes, then listen up, okay? But the other most important part of your brand is this aspect, which is relevant. So what I mean by that is customer-centric and pain point focused. So think about it this way. If your business is one circle and your customers are the other circle, and where they intersect, that overlap is the relevancy part. Your messaging and your branding should sit there. Okay, so how do we do this? It's all about building a brand messaging guidelines, which I do this a lot for clients, but you can start the process yourself. And it's by answering the following questions. Okay, so who here has their vision and mission defined? And who knows why we need to define it? Does anyone have a clear understanding of why we need a brand, a vision and mission? A bit shy, nervous? Cav?
I think I can see David's hand raised.
Sorry, David, go for it. Sorry, I'm looking at the screen.
I was just chickening out when you called me out. To give you an overall direction, to give you a purpose, and to make it clear how you're going to win.
Beautiful. Well done, David. So this is so overlooked by businesses, and your vision and mission should not only have buy-in across all of your business, all of the people in your team, even if it's just yourself, but it is the touchstone that keeps you on track. So many brands spread themselves too thin, and then they're known for nothing. So it's really important to have an aspirational vision, or your why, and your mission, which is your how. Okay. Then it's about determining who your target audience is. And don't say everyone between age 18 and 45 or whatever we hear a lot of the times, okay? Target audiences are really important, and it's important to define them and how you're going to respond to them. So even if it's something as simple as, Government Gary, like I use the HubSpot terminology where you give it a funny name, right? Government Gary, and it's like they talk in the words projects, completion, periods, right? They speak in a particular way, and so I have to meet them there. All right, so have you defined your target audience really specifically, and what is your brand response in regard to each audience type? Next thing, what are your core values? Similar to vision and mission, if you don't have core values, i.e. what you are there for and present about, then your business will lack a lot of structure. So for instance, we at Melotti Media, one of our core values is about living and breathing what we do. So when we are putting together content and marketing materials for our clients, they will find the same materials that we do on our own website. So for example, if we're writing a website for a client, we have a really well-written website ourselves. You know how when you go sometimes to, it's definitely not Clint, when you go to a design agency, right? And they do great design work, but their website looks really, really bad. Okay, you don't want that. It's the cobbler's shoes, right? Where the cobbler has the worst shoes. So making sure that your core values express what you are. Next one is, what's your unique selling proposition? Okay, this is really important. Have you defined this? What makes you appealing to these customer audiences? Okay, these are all the things you need to make sure you define. How does your brand speak? Personality, all of the story. These need to be defined if you want to, say, work with Jordan to put stuff on social media and so forth. You can't go to Jordan and say, make my social media work, okay? Because Jordan will say, I hope, that what's your brand? And if you go, I don't know, Jordan, then there's a problem, right? You need to make sure that your brand has a story, a tone of voice, a personality that is defined in a document so that then you can use it across all of your materials, okay? Because without consistency, your brand is forgotten. And it's all of this. How do you communicate your brand messages? What is your expected brand experience? And what emotion should your brand trigger? Okay, so these are the kind of questions. Take a screenshot of this, or I think have you send this out, is these are the kind of questions that you should be asking and defining yourself in a document. It can be as simple as a Word document, but putting that together and having that to refer to will help your brand significantly, because you've got this like Bible, this codex to use, and then you share it with your team, share it with your sales team, etc. The more consistent and clear you are, the better your brand will be. So these questions.
Sorry to interrupt. David, do you have another question, or is that hand just from a while ago?
I think it's the start.
Okay.
David, you good?
Sorry, I'll just put it back down.
It's
Sorry,
okay.
I don't use Zoom very much. Sorry.
So what you can typically do is your team can do a lot of this. If I scroll back, your team can do a lot of this yourself, but sometimes an external resource, like a fresh perspective, can help. So getting a mediator in or someone, because sometimes we get too close to our brand and we get overwhelmed or confused by it. Okay, so someone like myself, George, so whoever is a marketing professional is a really good resource to tap into to get someone in. Like I did this morning for a client where I sat down with them and he said, it's all in my head, I need to get it out. And so these are the kind of questions that we went through and articulating it with an outside perspective. So then once you've done this, these are the 10 attributes that your brand needs to show and demonstrate across everything you do. So your sales team, yourself, your customer service, your website, everything. And they are as follows. And I'll quickly go through them and then I'll open question and answer. So competency means that you have the ability and your brand demonstrates the ability to be competent about what you're saying you do, right? So like Peter May in spades, right? Very competent at networking and putting that in, and everything he does demonstrates his competency. Tick. Credibility. Credibility is the social proof. So this is where you've got testimonials and case studies. These are great to share to reinforce your brand. Next is demonstrating creativity. So how do you show the creativity that your brand has in the way that you adapt and evolve to new events that are happening? Consistency we went through, right? Your brand must be consistent across all the channels if you want to be remembered. Connectivity, things like BackBone, getting in connection. Community, what I mean by that is getting involved in the society around you. Customer centric, we talked about, where it's being obsessed with your customers and being adaptive. Competency, making sure, oh, we already covered that one. Competency we've done. And oh, there's some errors in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, I'll send you the blog because that will give you what you need there. Sorry, let me grab the actual log here that you can learn. I'll put it in the chat and I'll go back to the slide. Sorry. Here. I put it in the chat there. There's no catches to that. Okay. So what it is it literally goes through the 10 attributes that your brand needs to have. And it's all there. So you can look up what they are and what to do in that regard. So I'll put it in the chat. Alrighty. So then that's it. So questions and answers. I'd love to hear any questions you have about branding. I know this was only 10 minutes, so usually I go for 4 hours. So that was as quick as I could possibly make it. And for free as well, here's, if you want to scan the QR code, it's again free. I'm not collecting your details. It's the digital marketing trends to watch out for this year for branding. So you can just scan the thing. Done. What did you think? Anyone questions about brand thoughts? Diana?
So I've got a question around your brand story. So how about telling your brand story? Like, what does a brand story sound like? So I'm just wondering, like, obviously from my own perspective, because I'm thinking about myself. So would it be potentially like how I evolved the service, like where it came from?
Yes, great question. So people often mistake brand story for here's a way to just vent about my brand. It's actually not. What it is how my brand has come to be in perspective of the customer. So this is, again, it happens a lot because people go, my About Us page gets a lot of bad reviews or a lot of bounce rate. What you need to say is your story is not about rambling about yourself in no particular way. It's gravitating around customer centricity. For instance, if I was to say, oh, I got my marketing degree in 2007. I got my marketing degree in 2007 and I've kind of grown from there. People will be bored, right? You're already bored in this room. But if I was to say, after I got my degree, I was able to develop a lot of skills that I now exercise as part of the services I'm offering you. That's where, see how it comes back to the customer? So I always say, when you are developing your brand story, it's a great thing, but write it down first, then go, how can I temper this to benefit the customer? And that's the story that people want to hear. Did that help, Diana?
Yeah, thank you.
Just get it out of your head and then go, like Diana, you do a lot of like well-being and things for a lot of business executives. So what it would be is not just, oh, I did this course and all of that. What it would be is, I discovered that business entrepreneurs often carry the weight of a lot of stress and overwhelm in their day-to-day, and they just accept it. That is where I come in. See how it's like a story that is from you about the customer.
Yeah. Cool.
Thank you so much, Chris. That was really amazing. And I love the energy you brought to that session.